The Buffalo Bills offseason has been a fascinating mix of strategic departures, shrewd contract extensions, and some hits and misses in free agency. And it really paints a picture of a team trying to balance cap space while maintaining competitiveness. One of the biggest talking points was the departure of wide receiver M. Collins, who chose to sign with the Patriots on a 2-year, $8,400,000 deal. While some fans were frustrated by his exit, it's hard to argue that the Bills lost much in terms of production. Collins and Tyrell Shavers contributed during the season, but M. Holland, who could have been considered a depth option, would have demanded over $4 million a year for a role that typically rotates between 4th and 5th receiving targets, given the salary cap constraints. Letting him go seems like a calculated move rather than a disappointment. Holland's performance certainly added value, but it wasn't enough to justify the expense, and he parlayed a strong season into one of the most lucrative contracts of his career, even if it was with a divisional rival. Ultimately, the Bills' season trajectory likely wouldn't have changed significantly with him in the mix. The team also saw other notable departures that didn't leave glaring holes. Amari Cooper signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with the Raiders before retiring, and while he tried to recapture pass form, his impact had clearly diminished. Cornerback Russell Douglas was not re-signed and eventually joined Miami on a 1-year, $1,500,000 contract. Douglas had a solid season with the Dolphins, but the Bills were able to showcase Trey White and Max Harrison, who stepped into more prominent roles. Defensive end Dwayne Smoot returned to Jacksonville on a 1-year, $1,500,000 deal, filling a depth rotation spot as usual. Tight end Quinton Morris, a restricted free agent, also went to Jacksonville on a 1-year, $1,200,000 contract and spent time moving between the practice squad and active roster. Defensive tackle Austin Johnson had a similar trajectory, also landing in Jacksonville and playing roughly 100 snaps. Looking at these exits, it's clear the Bills didn't miss a significant impact, and the front office managed the roster without incurring serious regret over letting these players walk. Then there were the releases of higher-profile veterans like Von Miller and Sam Martin. Moving on from Von Miller opened up substantial cap space, and he signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with Washington. While expectations were high, his impact on the field didn't quite match his reputation as a sub-package pass rusher, making the cap savings a smart move. Sam Martin, who went to Carolina on a 1-year, $1,600,000 contract, had a solid season as a punter, but the Bills' own Mitch Visnovsky handled punting duties effectively while freeing up additional cap space. These roster decisions show a deliberate effort to manage financial flexibility while still maintaining depth across positions. The real story of the offseason, however, was the contract extensions. Wide receiver Khalil Shakir received a 4-year, $53 million deal that looks like a strong investment for the Bills. Linebacker Terrell Bernard also signed a 4-year, $42 million contract, though his history of injuries makes this a more cautious choice. While Bernard has shown talent, his injury record raises questions about long-term reliability, and this deal stands out as a more debatable extension. Defensive end Greg Rousseau, on the other hand, signed a 4-year, $80 million contract that has sparked varied opinions. Rousseau is not at the elite level of players like Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa, but he also is not paid at that tier. Based on his game tape and contributions, he provides solid value for the team, particularly once he returned from an early season injury. The $20 million per year commitment appears appropriate for the production he delivers, and his presence strengthens the Bills' defensive front. Long snapper Reed Ferguson received a 4-year, $6,500,000 extension, which ensures stability and leadership at a position that is rarely highlighted, but highly valued for its reliability. Quarterback Josh Allen's 6-year, $330 million extension was another headline move, particularly impressive because it didn't reset the quarterback market. Allen's deal provides long-term stability at the most critical position without overpaying relative to peers. Cornerback Christian Benford, secured on a 4-year, $76 million contract, represents excellent value for a top corner who came in under projections. Running back James Cook signed a 4-year, $46 million deal, an essential move to lock in a key offensive contributor before he had a chance to lead the league in rushing. Depth and role players like Ty Johnson and Reggie Gilliam also received smaller Cost-effective deals that provide roster stability while maintaining cap flexibility. Even depth safety Damar Hamlin, who spent time recovering from injury, returned on a modest one-year, $2 million contract, providing value for his role without overextending resources. Trades were also a part of Brandon Beane's roster construction strategy. Although only 3 were made, 2 of these were on draft day, moving up to select T.J. Sanders and Deion Walker, while the third involved trading Kyrie Elim and a 6th-round pick were sent to Dallas in exchange for a 2025 5th-round pick and a 2026 7th-round selection. While Elim struggled to establish himself and ended up finishing the season with the Titans after being released, the trade allowed Buffalo to acquire Jordan Hancock in the 2025 draft and maintain an additional pick in 2026, giving the front office some return for a player who did not pan out as hoped. These moves demonstrate a pragmatic approach to salvaging assets and managing draft capital effectively. Free agency brought a mixed bag of results. Josh Palmer, signed for 3 years at $29 million, faced injuries throughout training camp and the season, ultimately failing to solidify a consistent role. Michael Hoy, signed for 3 years at $21 million, returned from suspension and showed flashes of impact before suffering a season-ending Achilles injury. Defensive end Joey Bosa, a 1-year, $12,600,000 signing, started strong but faded due to wrist and hamstring injuries, falling short of the difference maker the team had hoped for in late season and playoff games. Other free agent additions like Larry Njoku, Derek Forrest, Laviscus Chenault, Kendrick Green, and Dane Jackson provided minimal impact, leaving Trey White and Shaq Thompson as the clear wins in this group. While some players faced unfortunate injuries, overall, the free agency period did not deliver the anticipated boost in production. The 2025 NFL Draft also brought its own challenges. Max Arison, the number 1 overall pick, began the season on injured reserve, limiting his ability to make a sustained impact. T.J. Sanders, acquired through a trade-up, had flashes of promise but did not deliver a transformative presence. Landon Jackson suffered a season-ending knee injury, delaying his development. Deion Walker, a 4th-round pick, exceeded expectations in creating splash plays but remained inconsistent against double coverage. Jordan Hancock, selected in the 5th round, struggled in his role and was exposed at times, indicating that he needs to focus on a specific position to maximize his potential. Other selections, like Jackson Hall and Dorian Strong, contributed in limited capacities, with injuries again affecting overall rookie production. Chase Lunt, a 6th-round pick, also provided depth but no standout impact. Injuries clearly shaped the trajectory of the draft class, and while there were encouraging flashes, the full impact of these selections will likely take more than one season to realize. Continuing with the evaluation of Buffalo Bills roster construction, one of the key storylines has been the development and utilization of the young talent brought in through both the draft and trades. While injuries certainly limited the immediate contributions of several players, the front office's focus on potential and upside is evident in how these athletes were integrated into the team. Max Arison, despite starting the season on injured reserve, showed glimpses of the elite talent that justified his top overall selection. When on the field, he displayed a combination of athleticism and instinct that suggests he could evolve into a foundational piece for the Bills' defense. However, the transition from college to the NFL is rarely seamless, and missing critical development time due to injuries created challenges for both the coaching staff and the defensive unit. T.J. Sanders, acquired via a trade to move up in the draft, had a mixed season. While he displayed moments of strong play, consistency remained a concern for a player selected at a high draft slot. Expectations are naturally elevated, and although Sanders did not immediately dominate, his flashes of competence suggest that with proper coaching and additional game experience, he could become a reliable contributor on the defensive line. Similarly, Landon Jackson faced a season-ending knee injury before he could fully establish himself. This setback delayed his ability to adapt to the professional level, but his size and technique provide optimism that he could be a rotational force in future seasons once healthy. Deion Walker, a 4th-round pick, emerged as one of the more exciting stories of the offseason moves. Despite some inconsistencies, he displayed the ability to make big plays when given opportunities. His lateral movement, hand usage against blockers, and knack for getting into passing lanes suggest a player with high upside. who can develop into a key contributor in the pass rush and run defense. Walker's growth trajectory will depend heavily on his ability to refine fundamentals and adjust to the speed of NFL gameplay. But his flashes indicate that the Bills found a gem in the later rounds. Jordan Hancock, selected in the 5th round, experienced a steeper learning curve. While he struggled with positioning and consistency, particularly in sub-package roles, the talent is there. Focusing on a defined role and mastering the nuances of that position will be crucial for his progression. And if the coaching staff can harness his potential, Hancock could become a reliable defensive asset. Rookies like Jackson Haw and Dorian Strong contributed in various ways, but were limited by injuries and situational deployment. Haw provided valuable blocking and occasional receiving plays, highlighting the importance of versatile players on both offense and special teams. Strong, unfortunately, suffered a neck injury after a promising start, which limited his opportunity to make a sustained impact. His physical traits and collegiate performance indicate that he has the tools to be effective, but the injury timeline delayed his ability to contribute meaningfully in 2025. Chase Lunt, a 6th-round pick, played primarily in backup and rotational roles, offering depth without producing standout plays. While his impact was minimal, Lunt represents a low-risk, high-reward addition, providing roster flexibility and insurance in case of injuries or underperformance by starters. Free agency, as discussed previously, was a mixed bag. Josh Palmer, Michael Hoy, and Joey Bosa had all been high-profile signings, and while each offered potential, injuries and inconsistent production limited the overall impact. Palmer's hampered season prevented him from establishing a consistent role, and Hoy, despite showing flashes of brilliance, was sidelined with a season-ending Achilles injury. Joey Bosa, though effective early in the season, was unable to provide the late-season pass-rushing dominance the team had hoped for. These experiences illustrate the inherent risks in free agency. Acquiring established talent does not always translate to immediate results, especially when injuries interfere. On the positive side, Trey White's return was a clear win as he provided stability and production in the secondary. Shaq Thompson also exceeded expectations, delivering significant contributions despite being a relatively under-the-radar signing. These successes underscore the importance of evaluating free agency not only by headline signings, but also by role players who can fill gaps and provide depth when injuries strike. Looking beyond individual performances, the collective impact of the offseason moves is most evident in the way the Bills managed their cap space and roster flexibility. By letting certain players walk, whether through free agency or release, the front office created financial room to extend key contributors and make strategic additions. Josh Allen's 6-year extension is the centerpiece of this strategy, securing elite quarterback play at a controlled cost relative to the broader market. Christian Benford's deal reinforces the long-term vision for the secondary, while James Cook's contract locks in a versatile offensive weapon. Other extensions, including Kil Shakir and Greg Russo, reflect an emphasis on building around young, productive players while maintaining a balance between cost and contribution. Only Terrell Bernard's extension raises questions, largely due to his injury history. But even this reflects a calculated risk in the context of the team's broader roster plan. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers around the Bills locker room have grown louder after Josh Allen allegedly broke his silence in a way that sent shockwaves through the franchise. According to sources close to the situation, the quarterback's comments were not part of an official statement, but rather a candid reflection shared behind closed doors that quickly found its way into league circles. The most explosive line attributed to him is already echoing through the fan base. No one on the roster wants him back. The identity of the player in question has not been confirmed, which only fuels the speculation. Insiders describe a fractured dynamic that may have been simmering for months, masked by public professionalism and carefully worded press appearances. What makes the rumor especially potent is the suggestion that this is not a personal dispute, but a collective sentiment within the locker room. If true, it points to deeper issues of chemistry, leadership, and trust that go far beyond a single roster decision. Around the league, executives and rival scouts are reportedly paying close attention. A quarterback speaking so bluntly, even indirectly, is rare. and it raises questions about how much control players truly have over the culture of a team. Some believe Al's words could be a strategic leak designed to push management toward a decisive move. Others see it as frustration boiling over, a sign that internal conversations have stalled. Fans are left reading between the lines. Social media buzz suggests divided opinions, with some praising the perceived honesty and others worrying about the long-term consequences of airing locker room grievances. The Bills organization has remained silent, neither confirming nor denying the quote, which only adds to the intrigue. For now, the situation lives in the gray area between rumor and revelation. Whether this moment becomes a turning point or fades into off-season noise will depend on what happens next behind closed doors. One thing is certain: when a franchise quarterback is rumored to speak for an entire locker room, the implications are impossible to ignore. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.